Hi Sanjay, good morning.
Awesome. Good morning, Chirayu. We'll give maybe one more minute for everybody to join. Karina, awesome. Oop. Let me find my setup here. How was the weekend everywhere? It was cold here in DFW. Very,
Cold in
very,
Austin too.
Yeah,
yeah,
cold and rainy in Houston.
yeah. But finally the freeze is over. And I think next week, I think it's supposed to be better next week, but I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know about Dallas, but in Austin, February, we'll get a week of 85 and then we'll get a week of 25.
Yeah.
So it was really cold and rainy, as you know, here in DFW. My beautiful wife and I went door knocking. We go door knocking each weekend just to keep our guts in alignment with reality.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, actually I went to couple groups meetings, so that was met quite a few people. It was good. Always good to meet people and talk just to kind of get to know.
Good
Okay, guys.
morning.
Hello, hello. We'll get started here. Let me pull up our agenda. There it is. By the way, the first 10 or 15 minutes of this call where we do the market update, we may make it a little podcast as a weekly update. So we got to figure out a little technology pieces around it, but we'll see. Um, okay. Hey, welcome everybody. Happy Monday. Any bots or anything here? Let's make sure. This
Go
is
ahead.
a
Go ahead, Sanjay. We'll knock them out.
You do perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Mike. I didn't know you were here. That's good. New members. Today is a new member day. I know we have some of the new people been introduced on the Wednesday call, but Mike, we should do an introduction here also.
I think we covered it. I think if anybody felt they didn't get a chance or they haven't had a chance to introduce themselves, we can go that way if anybody, wants to jump in and introduce. Otherwise, I'd say I think we got everyone fairly well covered.
Okay. Okay. Anybody new who feels like they haven't introduced? I think going once, going twice. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So we know all each other. That's good. Okay, market, my favorite section. So here's our interest rate on the CME Group website. Um, and there is a meeting tomorrow. So we're holding our breath with 97% probability, market projecting 97% probability of no rate change. And little bit of a, these markets are crazy, always keeping us on our toes. So market is projecting no change. From an inflation and growth perspective, it seems like no change. But I did hear on one of the I guess it was the G8 or one of the world conferences where Trump said he's going to make the Federal Reserve lower the interest rate. So that's an interesting comment. I think last year, around middle of the year, we did one session where we kind of went through the Federal Reserve structure, where Federal Reserve is one of the only agency that does not have to report to the through the president, right? So the whole legislature, they don't have to report to the executive branch. They are responsible to the legislative branch. So, the House and the Senate, that's where the Federal Reserve governor have been called on the House and Senate hearings in the past before, right? So, so right now there is no direct authority to do that. But of course, a lot of these things don't work on a direct authority. These things work on a compromise, give and take, incentives, threats, whatever you call it, a lot of that stuff, right? So can that be influenced to reduce the interest rate from Fed or not? I really don't know. We just have to see. Number one. Number two, I did hear and saw some rumors, don't know how true that is, about bringing in a change. And I don't have full clarity on it. Will that change be like a constitutional amendment, or what type of change that is, to make the Federal Reserve reportable to president, just like all other agencies, right? So I don't know what the impact of that would be, if that happens or not, or can happen. Again, for us on real estate side, we look at everything from a real estate perspective, real estate lens, right? How will that affect us, our business, and what can we do or to plan or, be prepared for things. But my guess is no change tomorrow, given where the inflation and all the growth indicators are looking. And then in the March, maybe one change. With all that said, even the lowering of interest rate has not led to decrease in treasuries, right? So it is a little bit of a interesting times for us now, where Fed has lowered the interest rate. Fed has been shrinking their balance sheet, and the treasuries are still high and have gone up. So we got some quotes last week, and those quotes last week were in 6.5 to 7, almost 7% range. I shared that in the WhatsApp group here. The quote we got for agency, they are in a 7% to 6.5% range. Again, depending on the project, we kind of decide which option we want to go for. But agencies are 6.5 to 7%. So any stabilized deal, underwrite with 6.5 to 7% right now. If you plan or expect to close in Q1 of this year. For a bridge debt, we are still seeing 8.5%. It has come down a little bit. We do have couple properties with notes that are variable interest. So those have dropped from a 9.5, 10% to 8.5, 8.25%. So bridge we are underwriting bridge with a 8.5% right now. But the problem with bridge is, and that you see right here, is that if you have to refinance in next 2 years or 3 years, you do not want to be in the same position as everybody is in right now. So 2 years out, look at this 1 year out, it's looking so uncertain. Look at the probabilities, how spread out those are. And one of the interesting part here today is, typically where our current interest rate is, and current interest rate is right here. This is the range that the Fed guidance is. And usually we haven't had the higher interest rate columns unless there is any probability for those. So those columns have appeared now, and we haven't seen these columns in over the last 6 months at all on the higher side, right? So with the inflation and the growth that is happening for United States, there is some chances that interest rate may go up later this year or next year. But primary probabilities are to the lower side. So, but the biggest thing is 6.5 to 7% agency underwriting right now. And for a refi, if you do a bridge at 8.5% right now, do a bridge at 6.5 still, right? Even a bridge to agency refi, I would not do anything below 6 for sure, and maybe put a little bit higher and make sure the deal works. and in 2 years you end up getting lower interest rate, you are good, right? Deal is going to do really well, but you don't want to be caught in a higher interest environment there. So very interesting times that we have to navigate and work through this. Any comments, questions? Mike, you have anything else to add here?
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks, Sanjay. Just you and I were just going over this morning, and just talking about, like, directionally, it's what to do and where that maybe going, and reviewing as we were looking at the 10-year Treasury as well. That it's that right now we're in I'd say it's continue work. I like the numbers you shared. Continue working as no heavy assumptions on rates coming down. Even the Treasury had gone up the last few weeks and came down a bit recently, so it's still just kind of everything kind of keeping in there. So I wouldn't have any real high expectations like you mentioned. So good, thank you.
Good. And hey, Mike, I know you were in a couple conferences, virtual conferences, end of last week over the weekend. Anything you want to share from that side, especially on the interest rate side, if you heard anything?
Actually, yeah, it's very a little bit similar. Like, I was on Rod Cliff's virtual conference, and Tim had there was another commercial real estate conference, but just very, very similar. Sentiments don't. The big thing was don't get too aggressive in your models on that. Assuming things where they're going to go, and that mainly just that everybody's like, hey, it looks pretty flat, like, for the rest of the year, is the general sentiment that I was hearing. It'll be really interesting because this weekend or this week is NMHC, and there will be a lot of discussions going on at NMHC around this. So and where how many deals are the brokers bringing out? I think they're going to try to bring a lot of deals out now, trying to get people to move deals right now. Just knowing, like, hey, the interest rates are semi-stable. They're not maybe moving, but they're stable, and you got something to count on right now. So I think that'll be really cool. Schreier's out there for that conference this week. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar. I know some of the other people from here are going out there as well. Frank Herman, one of our longtime partners we've been working with, is out there this week. NMHC is the National Multifamily Housing Conference. They do one a year focused on multifamily. They do one a year focused on student housing, and then they have some other things. NMHC also is a great resource. Like, you can just go to their website. They've got some awesome, like, trends and who's the biggest players. A lot of great information in that if you're looking at stuff around multifamily, especially, or potentially student housing, but definitely multifamily.
Yeah, and Schreier is at NMHC, as you said. So we'll see what he brings back next week on Monday. Feedback and conversations. A lot of meetings set up. I think we've been kind of going back and forth. We got about at least 16 meetings. That is a mix of brokers and as well as the financing side, right? So lenders, pref lenders, equity groups, and the brokers for the deals. And one thing I do want to point out is this agency stuff that we talk about here primarily applies to multifamily and mobile home parks. For all the other asset classes, since agency is not an option, your bridge/bank loan is the only option. So those have been directly correlated with these decreases. So as these have gone down, we have seen the decrease in the funding for those as well as the bridge, right? So a lot of the asset classes, if it stays flat, it stays flat. But second half of this year, maybe a one cut. My personal view is I don't think there's any way there's going to be two cuts unless we really see a steep recession or a downturn or something like that, which there are really no indications of that at this point, right? So we'll maybe one cut, but mostly flat for all the other asset classes. And the other thing I want to point out for this NMHC, like we saw our deal flow on here that we look at the dashboard. Our Q4, we saw the deal flow drop down quite a bit, but a lot of the brokers will hold back on the deals for in the last like December month, and then they will bring those back right back at the end of January at this conference. So a lot of trading happens at the conference and stuff. So as you can see, just our total volume of deals, Q4, even though we were active, we were doing the same things we were doing or even more. Q4 was a drastic reduction in the deal volume, and Q1 already picked up. Looks like we're gonna end up close to this Q3 number already, where we are at already, right? So the deal volume is picking up definitely there. So NMHC, we are curious watching this week to see what comes out of that and where we go with that. So
I put the link in the chat here as well. If anybody, wants to go, I would encourage everyone to go in there and do some, browsing around, whether you're looking at apartments or not. There's just great resources in there.
Sounds good. For 2025, equity is very similar to 2024, where equity is going to be tough to find. We are seeing a little bit of a relaxing and some new money flow in, but it's going to be challenging. So as we underwrite the deals, watch out for that equity. And higher the IRR for LPs, the easier the equity going to be to raise. But as we underwrite, any $6, $7, $8 million raise deals come in, we're very, very cautious on those from equity perspective. Bank debt, as well as agency debt, it's actually plenty available. There is really a lot of lenders, a lot of debt is out there. So debt has become a little easier, although a little more expensive. So we haven't had any problems there on that. And again, capital raising continues to be a key focus for that. Okay, so let's do some of the updates on our deals. Any comments, questions, feel free to pop it in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, so let's look at the deal flow. From Massive Capital perspective, we are still chasing this Dorchester deal in Mississippi. It is a long time partner that we are working with them. They have some relationship with the local politics, basically. So the local city really wants this property sold, and they're moving everything to make this deal happen. So we're waiting for that. It's sort of a flip / a long-term hold because the cash flow ends up being really, really good. I know Sandeep is chasing this one. I don't know if Sandeep is here, but I don't know there's much updates.
Sorry,
Hey, Sandeep, yeah, go
there's
ahead.
not a lot of updates. We're going back and forth on the price,
Okay.
and still I'm not able to find a good interest rate where it'll work.
Yeah, and especially for RV parks, and on this one, the way the land is, there's just not a whole lot you can do unless you get a solid quote from somebody who's willing to do the loan at a lower rate. So the financing is there. This one on the storage side, the team is very active. Rob, Sujit, and rest of the team. The funny, a little exciting part on this one is we underwrote this deal. Originally, there was a $3 million ask on this, and initial review, we submitted a NOI of a offer of 2.1. So LOI was submitted. And now that they came back and they said, oh, you are in the best and final, submit your best and final offer, right? So we did a little detailed underwriting review, and team was using one of the templates they had for storage, and we weren't quite using the synthesis. And as team was struggling to kind of match to synthesis, we reviewed last week the transition to synthesis. And as we reviewed the deal and started looking at the numbers, there was a little formula on the other template for storage that was increasing the NOI by extra 3% for 3 years. And that was giving them a higher valuation and what would work for the property. As we translated to synthesis and looked at all the numbers in details, we realized that deal really actually really too tight at 2.1. So the funny part is, I think the team went back on this as a best and final with a lower offer than the original 2.1. So I think they reduced it to 2 or maybe 2.025 on this. But, so interesting conversation there was, how do you handle that conversation and what do you do, right? And in life, my decision point is, hey, with a broker, that's a little, doesn't show you in a very good face if you say, oh, we were at 2.1, we're going to go lower now, right? And you want to maintain the relationship with the brokers for future. And then the other aspect is, forget the relationship, forget everything. You buy that deal at 2.1 and the deal doesn't work and you have a negative cash flow or the deal struggles. Well, I don't care about anything else than the cash flow on the deal, and I'm not being able to perform on the deal, right? So when you think of it that way, you say, okay, it is what it is. You're gonna have to go lower on the offer. And but the good thing is, since originally when the team went back to the broker and said, hey, we are in the low 2 million, seller and broker thinks, well, they can get close to 3 million in whatever they are dreaming up in their mind for the deals, right? But once they don't see the response for the deal and they see all the other LOIs coming in lower, their expectation gets adjusted to the market. And now they're more open to the lower offers, or if they have other option, they can explore that. So this was an interesting conversation where we are actually lowering the offer on best and final. And again, keep the focus on the deal itself, right? Will the deal work? Will you make money or will you work for free, right? That's the question at the end of the day. Will you make money or will you work for free, or even will you pay to work, right? Will you pay to work? So interesting, this one. I'm not sure we would have any feedback out of this yet. I don't know, Rob or Sujit are here. Feel free to.
Rob isn't. I don't think Rob is on the call. He's going to talk to the broker later today, so we should have something tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious to hear back their reaction on this. So it'll be interesting. So. Okay, good. Mobile home park in Oklahoma. John and Sharon, they're working on this with the team, and looks like the underwriting was done, and it's looking decent based on the underwriting. So they're going back and submitting the LOI. So that's going well. John, you want to add anything here? Anything substantial since our conversation?
I know that when we went over it with the napkin analysis and some of the early underwriting, yes, it looked like it was a really, really good deal. We think that the broker and the seller, because they weren't keeping such great books, have really overbid their expenses. Or at least overrepresented them. And when we find a seller who hasn't kept great records, That to us suggests that there are opportunities there, or if he's adding expenses in that might include his vehicle or other personal expenses that get rolled in. Well, we won't have those kinds of expenses in the deal. And I think I just heard Sharon come in from her workout this morning, and I could go down the hallway here and see if she has any more to add. We did send a letter out yesterday
Okay.
to the broker, but
Okay.
it looks good. It looks good. It's a small deal, but it looks good.
Yeah. Hey, there's a term in cricket which is similar to baseball in a way. You know, ones and twos you can score a lot of big score on ones and twos. So these small deals, don't discount these. And this one was looking good just because of they're not keeping good accounting, right? Like that's a good. But it's an interesting underwriting that the team is working, and I'm happy to hear LOI is out yesterday, so that's good. Awesome, that's good. Okay, so from a deal flow perspective, the pipeline is full. Yeah, I wanted to highlight this, and you know, Martin emailed this deal to the deals@massive.capital. And from there on, it kind of goes into the process and tracking and the workflow. So continue to do that. We have that this thing on the agenda also here. So, but so the deals, you know, deals are happening, deals are flowing. There is I don't think that one is here or it's got archived. There is a little bit of a bigger deal. Oh, there it is. Well, Chirayu, we've submitted the LOI, so I'm going to put this in LOI and offer stage. But this is another interesting one that we are tracking and looking at. This is in east side of Atlanta, Georgia. Deal originally they were asking 140. We did napkin, and we said, you know, I don't think we can do anything more than 90-ish. And the broker was like, no, anything below 120 is not worth it. We had quite a lot of calls with the broker. We spent a lot of time talking to the broker. And as we talked, you know, we did change our underwriting a little bit. That gave us a little bit higher price. But we left at like, hey, look, yeah, we can't come anywhere near 120. Or even 110 or even 100, then we are here, and that's where we are at. On that call, broker was very he's like, you know, they were very aggressive. They're like, hey, I'm disappointed. I thought you could do better equity structure, be creative on it. And we shared everything that we were creative on, and we were going aggressively on all the things. And we left at like, okay, it doesn't work, pass. And then sure enough, 2 days later, broker comes back and said, hey, everybody else, all the other offers we are seeing is also in that 90s range. So pen up a LOI and send it over. So we did send an LOI where the seller carry is there. It says 28 million here, but we are actually looking at quite a bit lower equity because seller is carrying a portion of the purchase price for future, as well as the pref group that we talked to. They confirm they can bring certain pref check to the deal, and now the broker is really chasing us for an LOI and for us to kind of go at the deal. Little bit skeptical of the location. It's on the east side. Stone Mountain is still growing, still developing. Rents are not as high as Atlanta and Decatur market there. But it's an interesting conversation here. Chirayu, I know you've had a lot of conversation. You want to add anything else on this deal?
Sanjay, just a couple of things. So this was creative financing. Every version was a new level of creative financing. So a couple of things to add. So we looked at the levers of what impacts the price. The first and foremost is always the cost of capital. So when we said we are able to bring debt or preferred at a certain rate, the broker is like, he has connects with an equity partner who can bring us at lower rates. So, just a common message, while I don't want to delve into the details, but find out what the levers are. You need to have a good grasp of the levers and see how best they can impact the price and or the deal. So at this is the point where we're going as creative as possible, but we are very specific on which levers we can dial in or dial out. Just that message, Sanjay.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right. There's a lot of creative financing that we're looking at. There's a loan assumption, then there's a supplemental for a total of
Correct.
about 74 million, and then stacking the pref on top of it. And then the seller carries a portion. And all of that is to match the cash flow, right? The property is
Right.
rented, certain cash comes in, and we can only pay so much to the loan and other whatever mechanisms, and certain cash has to be left afterwards, right? So the financing and all the, as we call the capital stack, kind of gets updated and changed based on the cash availability. So a lot of fun on this. As I say, I don't do anything that's not fun. So this has been a lot of fun to go through that and look at that. So that has been good. Okay. Yeah. So our deal flow is there. Stuff is in the pipeline. It gets assigned tomorrow. The underwriting call. That's where we assign and also go through any underwritings you guys have, or we can review it. Let me get back on the agenda for this. We still have our calls, the 9 a.m. calls in the morning. We do have the bonus capital raise community calls. Mike, you want to update on this? Are those Wednesdays and Thursdays still?
Wednesdays only now. We're
Okay.
really,
And it's at 12?
yeah.
Okay.
And then
like
the pro money calls are picking up, and they're scheduled there now Thursdays and Saturdays. It's
Okay.
every other Thursday, not every Thursday. And then Saturdays is they kind of set it up Saturdays, and the tips and tricks Thursdays kind of. So those are there. So anybody on the CRM, and it's jump in there when you're get it rolling, get it set up. If you got questions as you're setting it up, get into those calls with the team there. They'll be very useful for you. So no other changes there.
Okay. So this is good. This is there.
And I think you can delete B. I think that's more of an internal meeting, Sanjay.
This one. Okay.
Because we have the asset. I mean, it's part of the regular calls. Asset management and contract to close is our regular Thursday call, so it's already a set call.
And John asks the link for Wednesday noon call. Is it on the portal?
It is on the portal.
So John, it's not the same link as the Wednesday morning 9 a.m. It's a different link, different Zoom, but it's in the portal. And of course, ping us on WhatsApp, and we can share, or somebody can share from the team. This week, we've been preparing for NMHC and all that, so we're looking to bring one of our engineer contact, architect, civil engineers, for any questions on new constructions that we will start. Hopefully in February. We're still trying to figure out the schedules and line up and book that. So more like a specialist call that we would bring. This prep, we've been talking about a lot of prep that goes into these meetings ahead of it, right? So when Shrai shows up, meetings are scheduled and lined up. Very few sessions you attend. There are sessions going on and presentations, but it's more about the meetings and networking there. Equity raising activities from our side. Equity raising, I think Horizon is the only one open.
Yeah, so don't delete Candela, but we've officially closed. You can actually, or instead of officially closed, but and then we'll be following up with some of the people that had investors there as we move forward with the next steps of Candela. And moving that forward we'll be doing a closing, but officially closed on the capital raising. Horizon, we continue to bring in some investors. We've done one fund of funds. So if anybody is interested, to continue on Horizon, continue, just as I've mentioned over and over, just take that as an opportunity to let people know you're capital raising. Don't worry about if you actually raise capital on it. It's more about getting the message out of what you're doing. Like, hey, I'm out here, I'm an investor, I'm raising capital on deals, I'm working on projects, I'm working with massive capital, whatever you're doing. That way you can get that message out there in social media, send it to all your, this is a 506c, as it says, so you can send it to all of any email list you have, whatever you want to do. So we look to be wrapping that up probably in the next month, I would say. So by February, we should be wrapping up Horizon. CB Stewart is a next deal, which is very similar to Candela. It's up to the north side of Houston, but very similar project. It's about 70,000 square feet. Candela was 60,000 square feet. So we're working through that. We had some calls this weekend on CB Stewart, going through the contract a little bit further and continuing that. So we do have another good negotiations with Sandra Schreier, probably mostly on this one, on the seller is going to also carry quite a fair bit on this, on the land. So that has a seller carry. So that's where Sanjay has like about 1.5 million that we need to raise. 1.5 to 2 million we're going to have to raise there on top of the seller carry. So looking, the key thing is looking for ways to make projects work with less retail capital that you can. That's like a key thing as you're going through. And I know Sanjay we have on our underwriting model, there's some little metrics at the bottom bottom left corner on the underwriting tool that talks about, hey, how much it really rates, like how much work is this, like how much am I going to get return, how much equity do I have to raise, versus like, is it 10% equity I need to raise, or is it 50% of the deal I need to raise? And am I getting a return of 10% of the work I do, or am I getting a return of 50%? So those are metrics to help look at the value of the deal, not just on does it work or not work, but as you get further in, how much do I need to do on that deal? So
yeah, and on that comment, just to add to that, what I was saying earlier, equity is hard to find, will continue to be hard this year. So the Ponce Village deal that we are restructuring and we're trying to figure out, looking to get a $90 million deal for $5-6 million raise, right? That's a really small percentage of the total that we have equity wise. And here, the same thing with the seller carry, it helps lower the equity needed and allows us to do the deal, right? So there are the creative ways that we're doing that.
yeah.
Other exciting things. So this Fate project, we're working with the lenders. It's a 40 units, mixed use, 100,000. And then the Georgetown project that is getting to a final stage. This Georgetown was a big learning. It started as a 90 townhome projects north of Austin in Georgetown, with some of the sewer capacity and some tree situation. We could doing that did not make sense economically. There just wasn't going to be big enough square foot to support the land cost. So there was a pivot, and it's a business park now with industrial warehouse, and that one seemed to be going in the right direction. And we're going to finalize the underwriting on this and a business plan going forward for this. So that is happening. That is there. Yeah, both of these LOIs, I guess we did not. We talked about the LOIs that we have, but both of those, San Marcos and the other one, didn't really go anywhere primarily because of equity that was needed. So, okay, the debt fund is still in the play. We actually have some interest from some of the people just for a fixed return. The hypothesis on this one is a first lien for the land, primarily on the land. And then, that side of the business that has been there with us as partners on the side, and we're looking to kind of formalize with this. Equity fund, not a lot of equity activity on this. So that's been there, nothing there.
I know
Okay.
just a couple things. I know Sandeep asked any more detail on CB Stewart. Right now, Sandeep, I would say we can get a location, but 90% of it, like whatever you saw for Candela, is CB Stewart, just a different location.
Okay.
And as you talk to people, the returns are going to be similar. The project size is similar. Everything. We should have, some initial presentations sometime next week for that as well. But I'd say as you're talking to people, it's almost a duplicate, just a little bit bigger than Candela. Designs will probably be very similar, are very similar. The other thing is we will be opening a fund of funds, depending on deals coming up. So we talked earlier, we're looking at it. So like Chirayu has a deal under contract. We're looking at, hey, here's an option maybe to open a master's fund, where depending on the amount of capital required on deals. So we'll be doing those on a case-by-case basis to be part of other masters deals in a way, where that would be like people will join the fund, become fund managers, raise capital for the deal, but via a fund. So keep your eyes out for that as new deals come along.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and the project submission, the process for deal submission, and we really stress on the buy box, and that's our buy box that kind of divided up by different categories. So we have a multifamily, land, triple net, and then KP buy box where we go out and guarantee the loan or sign on the loan with others. So everybody should have their buy box, and it should be a living document. But besides that, we do gather data on a lot of deals that may not fit this buy box. So a lot of stuff flows through this. You can submit on Massey.Capital. There is a submit deal button on the top right, or the best is deals@Massey.Capital. Try to include some of these information, especially the financials, T12 rent roll, and then it gets into the process, gets the Google Drive link, gets loaded into RedIQ, CoStar report gets saved. So a bunch of the steps that happen kind of kick off with this email. So that's there. For this week, our primary focus this week, Shrai is at NMHC. Mike and I are, a couple of our existing deals. With the new year, taxes, K1s is a big focus, and trying to wrap those up. 1099s are already out. The deadlines are January 31st. So, we're done. For most of our properties, it's the property management companies is taking care of those. Next is the K1 deadline for March 15th. So for our side, we have to kind of get the investor lists ready, make sure those are same as last year, any changes on the investor themselves. And then, of course, the changes to the address, phone number, emails, updating those. So that process is going on in the background while the books gets closed for 2024, and then the taxes K1 will start getting prepared in February to meet the March 15 deadline. So it's a little bit of a process, and proactivity helps. I think this year we are hoping to have a lot better and timely. Last year we did have a couple property K1s delayed because of various issues on the financials, just to close out on financials. But this year going really well so far. Okay, 9:45. I'll stop here with everything that I have.
That's, I
Go
mean,
ahead,
he
Mike.
put his hand down, maybe, I know Sandeep, give us a second, that was good. Mike Bracken had his up for a while, don't know if he just got bored or got tired. but
Hey,
His hand
no,
got
no.
it up, so.
I just want to make sure I'm asking a good question, and I second guess myself. But my question is on the Friday evening calls, the bonus calls. I noticed there's one that's like 10 to 11 or 9 to 11 p.m. Is that correct?
That's an error, we'll fix that.
Okay, thank you.
There is not a 9. There is no 9 p.m. calls. We have some ourselves, our team, but we don't have any for the I think it's probably, so we'll check it. I'll check it, Michael. Thanks.
Sandeep, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple of them. The buy box information, we used to have that on monday.com. I don't see that page or link anymore.
Okay, it is here, right
See,
here, and
let me get
I
this up.
believe this agenda is shared with
Oh, it's in the agenda. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
our buy box. Yeah, there used to be a tab. There was a
Uh-huh.
tab at one time for buy box, and it actually had some other people's buy boxes on it at that time. When we were a little smaller, easier to manage, around kind of looking at everybody's together. So I think that was where we just, let's get to focus. Here's our buy box, and then we've gone over this, like we'll continue to go over this with meetings for people, like, just because, just what ours is, the idea is use this as like the not the specific criterias, but the items that you want to look at, right? Because you may have a completely different 100 to 300 units. Maybe for you it's 60 to 120 units, and maybe it's 1980 and newer type of things, right? So but we encourage everyone to use this as kind of a guide of the things for you and your teams to talk about as you're looking for deals.
Okay. On the massive capital KP buy box, it says median income 45K. So what does that mean? I mean, like, is it per month or per year?
That's a per year.
Per year. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's
familiar
per
with-
month. That's like.
Yeah, I know. All right. Just a totally separate question. You know, for new construction, I thought you mentioned an engineering call, if you will. Right.
So that is we have an agreement with the engineering guys. They have said yes to giving 1 hour a month for this call. We're still trying to figure out the schedule, and this week there's a lot of prep for NMHC for on our side, so we wanted to get that schedule and calendar sorted out, and so we'll get that going in February.
A follow up on that. I'm looking at a project in Del Valley. So I was wondering, I mean, if you know, what would be the steps to get to that stage, right? To engage a civil engineer or whoever.
Yeah, so we have some napkin assessment, and there is a for new build, new construction, there is some questions that we can go through. So if it's okay, let's review that at the 9 a.m. tomorrow. We go through that and
what type, size, the things like that. So bring as much information as possible.
yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Very good, very good. Kishore said, only see this massive capital lead tracker and not seeing this one. Does anybody else see this, or nobody's seeing this agenda? I think it's supposed to
I
be
see it.
public. Yeah. So did somebody say something?
It's Dennis. I can see it, but I think you're asking if people can see it in the folder, not on the call. Is that correct?
You need to be able to see on your Monday.com.
Monday.com, yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, maybe we need to add, these are not added. Okay. Look, let me and Alan look at it. We'll make sure everybody have access to this.
Sure.
Thanks, Kishore. Deborah says she got it. Karina says I see it too. Okay. That's what I thought. Most people should have access. Okay, I'll Kishore, we'll figure it out. I'm sure if you're not seeing it, then some other people are not seeing it, and typically some sort of a setting somewhere that's excludes few people. So we'll figure it out. Thanks, Kishore. Holly can see it. Okay. Thanks, Holly. Thanks, Karina. Okay. Any other questions for here today? If no other questions, we'll end the call here. Happy Monday. Go get some deals done.
Sanjay.
And I know everybody's got the teams rolling and going. So,
Hey,
all right.
Sanjay. I
Yeah,
have
hey,
one
Thanks, Sanjay.
for Mike. Mike, are we doing anything here on Thursday evening, like we did the last Thursday, 2 weeks ago? I don't want to say names because maybe you don't.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah. We're doing
okay.
the round table.
Yes.
Thanks for mentioning it. We'll be having the Masters round table in Austin Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. At Hotel Viata. And then 7 to 9 p.m. we'll have a networking just session there as well at the hotel. So we'll be having a sit down roundtable for those that are interested. You should receive an invite. You should have received. If you don't, let us know. But you should receive an invite for that to sign up and confirm you're coming to that. So
Awesome.
thank you, Olivia. I appreciate the reminder.
All right, guys. See you guys on Thursday night here in Austin.
Sounds good. See everybody on Thursday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Where is
Thank
the
you,
invite?
Olivia.
Sorry, where is the
It
invite?
will not be Zoom as well. No, it'll just be in person. So
So Mike, where can I find information for that?
it'll just stand by. You'll get an invite. You guys should all get an invite. Thanks. But we'll be rotating it between Austin, Houston, and Dallas. Kind of monthly is the plan. So you will receive an invite for that. It should be an Eventbrite to sign up, private Eventbrite. So alrighty, thank you, and we'll double check on it to make sure it gets out today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.